Hello and welcome to a video on Driving Further, a TI Technology webinar on one of the activities for Year 10 to 11 students using the TI 84PlusCE, although it could be used down into the middle schools, depending on where you are, and even will be applicable for some of the Year 12 courses across the country and around the world. So we're trying to come up with something that uses some real data, and as you can see, or data, depending on where you are in the world, you can see here that we do have some data from the Gulf up until 2009, and it's quite nice to actually stop a little bit short so that we could actually then say, okay, we can make some predictions into what results have already happened since then. So there's an activity sheet for the students, and these are some of the questions. So today, in this webinar, I'm going to explain to you how to do that on the graphics calculator. So there is a supporting teacher document as well, as you can see here. And on this teacher document are some of the screenshots, but I'm going to go through a few of those and perhaps a few extra ones that may help you. So I'm using the SmartView software, but you could be just using the handhelds. And I also will be using TI Connect to show you some other tricks as well that may help you. So entering the data. That can be sometimes a challenge for the students, getting all those numbers correct. So we should know that you go to Stat, into Edit, and there may be some data that's already there from before. So we can come up to the top and press Clear to get rid of that data. It's the quickest way. Just be mindful that sometimes students come up to the top and press Delete, then they panic that the list has gone. But it hasn't. Don't panic. We can go back into Stat, Set Up Editor, and when we press that and go back into Stat, it's back there again. Something that I like to do with my students, and just to make sure they're all on a clean page to make it easier, is to clear the defaults. So go into Mem, okay, and we can also reset the defaults. That does a few other things behind the scenes, so I like to do that. And although what it doesn't do is to clear the lists, it actually sets everything back to stat plots off and everything to do with that. So I'm going to clear that. Now, we could get the students to type them all in by hand. That could work. I did say that we could actually type the date. Since it's a sequence, we can do it a little bit quicker, and you could race the kids to do that. To do that, we go into List, across to Operations, and that's number 5, and then we just follow through this. So we can see that's an expression, would be X. The variable, since it's just going to be going up by 1, is just X. Sorry, the expression is X because it's just going up by 1. There's the variable. 1992 is the start date, and we're going up every year, and if we press enter there, then it won't work. Why won't it work? Because we can go to the area to have a look. Students don't like pressing go to. They like to just quit it. I think they just freak out when they see that error screen, but I prefer them to go to. We're putting it in the wrong place. We have to drop it in up here in the column, and obviously I did that on purpose, so believe me if you want to. So again, second list, crossed operations into the sequence, and we come down with the same data that were there before, information, and there we go, it drops all the dates in. Now, what I've done on the software for you, or on the sort of resources, that you can access, I've put 2 extra folders that have some of the data in there. You can see them here. They're actually saved as files that work exactly onto the software, so you can actually go to the second screen, use the magnifying glass, and if I just shrink that down, and you can simply highlight the 2 that you want. I just want these 2, and I can drag them across. That wants to put them into list. Can I read that? And just check. List 2, perfect, and list 3. Okay, I'm happy with that. And it will send it straight across onto my calculator. If we have time at the end of this webinar, I will actually show you how you can do that. But there you go, it's all populated. We can also do the same on the handhelds. So we'd do the same as we'd go to this screen. We'd make sure that the calculator is connected. We would go to the same magnifying glass as before, and we'd highlight the ones we wanted to, and then we'd drag and drop them across. Okay, into list 1 to 3, onto the handheld. And if I go onto the handheld now and show you the list, I'll take a photo for you so you can see. We can see that there they are. There is the same data on the calculators. And then the students, if they wanted to, they could then share that with each other using the link icon here. I can't show you that on this software, but they could use the link icon. So really cool way. Okay, so there's enough of that. Let's get on with the graphs. How do we do them? Well, a lot of kids will just go graph. Ah, it's not there. Well, yes, the calculator is not psychic, so let's go into stat plot. We're going to turn the first one on. Let's turn it on. We're going to do a scatter plot. Oops, not that one there. Let's turn that one on. And it's list 1 for the year and list 2 for the graph. And they also will go graph again. Still not there. That's because you're looking in the wrong place. So a lot of students, without really wanting to think too much, will use Zoom Stat. And therefore, there you go, we've got the graph plotted. I don't like them to use Zoom Stat because I'd like them to actually think about what's going on. And they know that that data goes from 1992 to 2010. So I'd prefer them to go, well, I'm going to go 1990 to 2000, to 2010. Going up one every year, that's fine, doesn't matter. And we know that the lowest it was about 230, so I could go down to, say, 235. So I'll go down to 230, and I'll go up as high as, say, 270, and I'll just have the dashes on the y-axis going up by 10. And we can see the graph there really nicely. That's the way I prefer them to do it. So I'll go through that again with the female or the LPGA data. Is turning it on again. Coming down, it's now list 1 and list 3. Different color. I like to leave that icon, even though squares aren't really what we should be using. Just a bit clearer than the crosses. And don't forget, this is how we change the color, whatever we want to use. So I'll go red. That's fine with me. And again, why is it not there? Because it's lower down. Same years, but it's lower down, so you would have to change the window. Now, I know in the activity that it does just say to have them separate, but it's quite nice also to show students that they could actually have them together. All right, so we'll just go back to just showing one of them. Let's just show the PGA for now. So window back to 230. There we go. There's the graph. And we want to fit a line of best fit to that. Okay, so to put a line of best fit to it, then we go stat, cross the calc, and there's lots of regression equations that we can choose. Quadratic, cubic, maybe you want to get students to look at exponentials, why some would work, some wouldn't. Quadratic, why it may be improved, but actually in realistic terms, the longevity may not be the case. So we're going to go lin reg, number 4. It's the year and the PGA data. There's only one of each, so don't have to worry about that. And this is the important one that is a nice feature when you've done the OS on many of the calculators, is store the regression equation. You're going to put Y1 there, so that it stays it straight into there. We can find that in VARs, but I'm a bit lazy. I like to use the quick keys, so F4, which is in green there, and there it is, Y1. And if we go calculate, we can see that gives us the linear graph. Doesn't give us the R squared or the R. I'm going to explain why it doesn't give us that. But if we go into Y equals, there's the line. And if we go into graph, we can see there it is drawn through. So why doesn't it give us the R squared? That's because when we did the default in mode, the stat diagnostics down here has turned off. And it's important that that is on. So if I quit that and then run the same thing again, we can see now there's our R squared and R flying through it. So that's no dramas now. And then we can find some values. So I think in the assignment, it asks them, or in the investigation or the activity, it asks them to estimate what it would be in 2018. So many different ways again. Most common, if they were thinking about it, they would go to calculate because they've been taught well by you, and they would go 2018, and they would go, invalid. So press 2 to go to. Of course, it's off the screen. They know that because they've been taught even better than you than me. So why is that? Well, it's off the screen. So we'd have to increase it, the window, to 2018 so we can see it. So 2020. And we can go back to calculate again. Value. And although it's off the screen up here, that doesn't matter. The calculator just needs to know where it is. So we can go 2018 and we can get the answer. So that's one way that we could do it. They could also go into table and they could scroll down so they find 2018. We can change the increment here. You can see a plus key, but if we went into table set, we could start it at, let's say, what is the first piece of data? It was 1992, so we could go to 1992 here, 1992, going up by 1. If we go back to table now, there's the table at 1992. We could just scroll down to 2018. Another way that I like to show them is using function notation, or a sort of form of function notation, and that is using the Y1 button that I showed you in F4 and putting it in brackets and choosing the value. So that would be 2018. And I quite like doing it this way as well. Again, getting an idea of this function notation, but then they can actually use that value in there. Okay, when was the average distance for the men's 310 yards? So that's obviously on the graph coming across this way at 310. They should by now know that they need to have the window going as high as 310. So probably a little bit higher, 320. Graph that. Okay, so it's looking good. And we go Y, and we're going to add another Y value at 310 yards. This is in yards. Maybe you could have an activity where you can have some columns where you convert it to meters. And let's go graph again. It's now not going to give us intersects. It's off the screen over here. So we need to move it across. If they want to do it quickly, one of my students said, so you know what, I can't be bothered to set the window. I'm just going to go zoom out and just press enter again, and that will do me just fine. I can now see it. We can see that all the data on there quite easily. So second calc, intersect, press enter 3 times. Do we have to guess? No, because there's only one intersect with 2 linear lines, 2 straight lines. So there's our intersect. Easy as that. And notice that this date, if we went back to normal calculator screen, if we press X, because the calculator is temporarily storing that, we can get that date time as well. And I think that most of the other statistics on there is fairly straightforward. So there, I don't think there's actually anything else that needs to be shown on there. I will just very quickly, because obviously this activity could be used in many different situations and data from many different sources. So it'd be nice if we didn't have to always type it in, because it'd be maybe quite nice. I think on the in the list we can actually type in up to 999 pieces of data in one list. So it'd be not, if we had that much, you really wouldn't want the students to type it in by hand. So what you would do is you would enter your data into an Excel document, and when it's on the Excel document, you would then, it's how you save it is the important thing. So what you would then do is when you go to File, Save, right, and I'll just go to my desktop. So let's put it on my desktop for now. Here we go. It's how you save it. Do not save it as an Excel workbook, but instead save it as a CSV file. This CSV file, here you go, will actually save it in a different format than the calculator can access. Okay, that's fine. Yes. Once that's done, then although we can't do it on the software for here, on the Smart View, we can do it on TI Connect. So I have my calculator connected, and we can see this icon up here that says to select, sorry, not that one. I apologize. I go to the magnifying glass, and you see this icon here. This should say add contents from the computer to the connected calculators. So we could then click on that icon, and here's the stuff from earlier that I did. Here's a different one I've got on the CSV data, and we can just click on that one, so it says in a different format. And when I click that, I then ask, well, how many columns? Well, if you remember, those columns had 3 pieces of data in it, so I change that to 3, continue, and there it is. It will dump it across into list 1, 2, and 3. That's fine with me from the column. And if we now go back to the calculator, I'll show you a screenshot of that. You could question whether you believe me that it actually worked, but try it yourself. And there it is. It's the same data, so that doesn't really show too much. But trust me, it does work. The nice thing about then doing that is that you can then find those lists. Here they are, list 1 there. Amazingly small, or my eyes are terrible. And you can highlight that data that you've got there. And if you wanted to, then you could then take that data, drag and drop it across onto your desktop or into a folder, and then you could share it again with students via email or whatever, so they can then do that drag and drop back onto their calculators. A really nice way to do it. And there we are. I hope you found that useful. Hopefully you learned a few things there. And as always, if you have any other questions, then please contact TI. I know that they would love to hear from you and support you in any way to make your classrooms as mathematically rich as possible. So thank you very much.